At the Toledo Zoo, we have a mission focused on engaging people with wildlife. We want our guests to enjoy their experience while visiting the zoo. While viewing our animal collection, we hope to inspire them to learn more about these magnificent creatures. Our staff is there to help educate current and future generations about the significance of these species and their place in the world. In turn, we act in ways of protecting and preserving animals in their native environment and enable individuals to join us in our work.
We've been doing research on some of our local turtle populations, specifically Blanding's turtles and spotted turtles, since as early as 2005. So one of the really nice parts about these projects we have is they're federally funded grants, and it provides a really good experience for people to gain skills for research and data collection if they're interested in entering this field. So not only do we hire our regular seasonal technicians, is we've decided to broaden this out to include some of our local high schoolers who might be interested in this as a career down the road.
I was a freshman, and my teacher, Ms. Kubek, she noticed how interested I was in her class. She was like, you should apply for the zoo internship. My name's Daviana Smith. I'm one of the interns here in the conservation department. This is my second year actually here at the zoo. Here, everyone's like a family. It's really great. My first day, I fell 3 times in the same spot, but it was great. We laughed about it afterwards. I still laugh about it all the time. But after like the first week and a half, you really just get in the motion of it, you get used to it. The waders, you gotta get used to that. Once you get it, you can basically sprint in them. This work, it's hard. A lot of running, a lot of water breaks. You get really tired really easily, but it's a great set of people out here. They take care of their interns really well. If I'm doing this for 4 years and then going on a couple more years, when I get to college, it'll be like, doing homework is so easy. I know what everything I'm doing. It'll be fun. It's gonna be a great experience. You meet a lot of new people. We go to fish and wildlife places, and it tells you about different branches. Like, oh, if you don't want to do marine biology, there's something just like it that you can also do. It's just as fun. I brought my mom and dad out here. My mom, she doesn't even ride roller coasters. So the fact that she actually got in the swamp was really fun to experience with her. We are trying to grow the Blandings population. So when you go out and you set the traps, you really hope for a Blanding, so you measure their growth, their data. It's great to see how they're doing, how they're progressing, see that what we're doing here is actually changing what's going on in the environment.
So right now we're at Sturgeon Fest, so we're right off the main campus of the Toledo Zoo. It's a partnership with Toledo Zoo, ODNR Division of Wildlife, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and others. We're releasing lake sturgeon, which is an endangered species, and what we're trying to do is establish a permanent population here on the Maumee River. I'm John Navarro. I'm with the ODNR Division of Wildlife, and I'm the Aquatic Stewardship Program Administrator. Being able to partner with the zoos like the Toledo Zoo, they have such a good ability to engage the public. Having events like this provides awareness so people know, well, this species is important, this is interesting, having them be able to release them. It's all great because it gets public support. Sturgeon used to spawn and be in Lake Erie, but through persecution, through fishing, and other water quality issues, they were extirpated from Ohio. So bringing an iconic species like the lake sturgeon back in, it's a testament that the water quality's improved and that we can really bring this ancient fish back. It's just an awesome, iconic species. We've shown that the ones we've released in the past have an 80% survival rate. We're catching them out in the main lake as bigger fish. Hopefully in about 10 years, the ones we released today will come back. They'll be mature and able to reproduce. And the idea is we want a self-sustaining population in the Maumee River so we can walk away from it and have it reestablished a population.
I've been working on monarch butterflies basically since I've been here. So monarchs migrate from Mexico every spring and early summer, and they make it all the way up here actually into Canada. They have several life cycles consuming milkweed, and then they migrate back down to Mexico for the winter. There used to be so many monarchs that would be flying across Lake Erie that there's documentation that Cleveland actually got dark. Nowadays, you're lucky if you see a couple monarchs, and the population has declined overnight. 95%. We are a professional captive rearing facility here at the Toledo Zoo. U.S. Fish and Wildlife contracts with us to do endangered species, and we treat our monarch rearing exactly the same. Not only are we rearing and releasing about 1,000 monarchs a year for migratory flight, as well as working with Monarch Watch in order to tag them and actually track their migration to Mexico, but honestly, that is just a drop in the bucket compared to the plants and the habitat that we've created all through Northwest Ohio. Captive rearing allows us to release a bunch of monarchs, track them to Mexico, but also we're the Toledo Zoo. So when we release those monarchs, we're educating the public about it. And that really gets people excited and gets them excited about putting some milkweed in their backyard so that their backyard can be monarch habitat. Individuals can actually have an impact on monarchs. You can plant milkweed in your backyard. Wild Toledo has 9 species of milkweed that are native to Ohio. But also in the fall, monarchs are gonna be really hungry trying to fly all the way to Mexico. So you can see all the flowers behind me in the background, all of these native plants. Most of them will provide nectar, which is energy resources for monarch butterflies. WildToledo.org, which is the website you can go and order the plants. We're the biggest resource for these native plants. We have all of this available for a relatively cheap price, starting at $7. So if you want to start a garden, the late summer and fall is actually a pretty good time to start a garden. And we're open up now for people to buy milkweed and get involved more.
We used to have the Great Black Swamp here in northern Ohio that we've drained and turned into agricultural land, subdivisions, housing, and we lost a lot of our historic wildlife. These Copperbelly Watersnakes are one of those iconic species that used to be present across the landscape, but now they're only found in one small corner of the state. So we feel we have a responsibility to try to maintain the population we have because it's the last remnant of what used to be here. We're working with the Fish and Wildlife Service to try to make sure these snakes stay on the landscape. The Division of Wildlife has done a great job over the last few decades of purchasing land and maintaining habitat and improving habitat for this species, but the snakes still aren't rebounding yet. So that's what led the service to decide this reintroduction plan. So the Toledo Zoo wrote a captive management and reintroduction plan, and now we are implementing that. So the goals of this program are kind of twofold. We want to have a captive propagation component of it, where we bring in adults, we breed them in captivity to supplement the wild population, and then we also raise the neonates past the point where they're most vulnerable. So for a lot of these species, it's when they're bite-sized. After 2 years in captivity, these snakes will be reaching almost adulthood, and we're gonna use them to help supplement the population. We want to be able to reach a point where the population is stable, and then we can kind of pull back. Next year, in 2024, we'll release the first round of our neonates. They'll have radio transmitters and pit tags, and then we'll follow their movements after we release them to try to figure out how they handle the environment once they're released into it.
We opened the Cancer Center here at Maumee a little over a year ago. Since then, we have been in partnerships with several of the organizations around the area, one being the Toledo Zoo. And ironically, when we had our open house, a couple of the representatives from the Toledo Zoo asked the question, gee, what are you doing with all of the land out back? And the opportunity came about for us to engage with Wild Toledo to develop our nature and conservation area here. It's going to take about 3 years to mature this property, but we've already seen wildlife up here, not only deer, but a lot of birds, bees, and butterflies and so forth already. So it's pretty exciting. In the windows behind me, that's where our infusion center is. And the patients get to enjoy the nature while they receive their infusions. Before the construction of the Prairie began, the infusion chairs were actually turned around because there wasn't a whole lot to look at out here. Once the Toledo Zoo got out here and started the work, the chairs quickly turned around and people started asking what's going on. A lot of excitement and energy, not only from the patients and families, but also from the employees. People can, come out and enjoy their lunch and decompress, if you will, during their busy day.
Humans have a part to play in reducing how much that we emit into the atmosphere, but the prairie can act as like a locker or like a sink that can begin to absorb the carbon from our atmosphere. Creating these spaces in their neighborhoods, they're able to see nature that's all around them and how they can experience nature and they can get enjoyment from nature. We are excited to partner with the Toledo Zoo in bringing in a wild prairie. Our students get to see a prairie from the very beginning, from us planting the plugs all the way to a mature prairie. They'll be very exciting for our students because many of them don't have the green space in their own neighborhoods where they can see something being planted and then begin to see it grow to maturity. We want to make sure that our students here that they become citizen scientists. And in having the prairie here, we can talk to our students how prairies can be responsible in helping us to reduce the amount of carbon that are in our atmosphere. So we're extremely excited to have a prairie here on our campus here at Chatham Academy.
We hope you've enjoyed learning more about the ways Toledo Zoo acts to protect wildlife and serve our communities. To learn even more or find ways to engage with our conservation initiatives, please visit toledozoo.org.